And as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed at $127 a night rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings could be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country out for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we have to head over to a place that we haven't been to in a while. We have to head on over to South Carolina. Why is that? Well, in South Carolina this past weekend, there was a major bust that went down concerning ICE raiding a cartel nightclub. Once again, not in Chicago, not in New York, not in Los Angeles, in South Carolina. This is one of the things that I remember talking about during the Biden administration, in the midst of the migrant crisis that he created, the Biden crisis, right? Oftentimes when discussing at that time what was going on concerning the migrant crisis, the influx of illegal immigrants into these cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, DC, Denver, so on and so forth, a lot of times I would tell you guys, just because you don't live in a sanctuary city, just because you don't live in a blue state or blue city, don't think that this foolishness isn't going to come your way. It's very easy to think that. But the thing is that when you're talking about illegal immigration and all the criminality that comes out of that, these blue states and blue cities, these sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, yes, they are the hub and they are the mecca of this type of activity that we're getting ready to discuss today. But like a cancer, it spreads all throughout the country. So it's not just reserved for the blue cities and blue states. It may start there. That may be the hub, but it will spread across the whole country. And I shouldn't say it will, because it already did. And now here we are at South Carolina, in a city called, looks like Somerville. As you can see here, inside Operation Last Stand, the Somerville club raid that yielded 80 arrests on Sunday. Let's get into this article now. Around 3 a.m. Sunday morning, 200 federal and local agents conducted Operation Last Stand at the Alamo nightclub in Somerville, resulting in at least 80 arrests and the recovery of guns, drugs, and get this, a missing juvenile. Officials announced Monday. They had little kids in that club, ladies and gentlemen. Over 200 individuals were gathered at the nightclub on Highway 78 for what Morant called a cartel after party. Everyone on the premises was checked for identification, as 116 previously filed arrest warrants were served to 80 citizens and non-citizens, according to Ritchie and Morant. The special agent in charge said that 66 of those people were in the U.S. illegally and 5 had criminal warrants. And I quote, "This operation was not just about immigration enforcement. It was about restoring order," Morant said. Now check this out here. The sheriff said that 2 individuals arrested were high-level cartel members with Los Zetas and Terrain de Agua affiliations, and they expect the number of those arrested determined to have gang affiliations grow. Another person had an international warrant from Interpol as a murder suspect from Honduras, Ritchie said. And get this, now we're going to get into the children. Lord have mercy. He added that juveniles below the age of 21 were removed from the club and returned to their parents, the youngest of which was 13 years old, and 7 of which were below the ages of 18. What in the world is going on in this place? This, ladies and gentlemen, is the madness that Democrats have unleashed onto this country. Biden and Harris, to be specific, but Democrats overall. Because if Harris would have won, these folks would have never have been caught. They wouldn't even be looking for these people if Harris had won. The type of activity that you see here, this is the type of activity that's going on in AOC's neighborhood, her district, every day, if we're being honest, right? That's happening in her district regularly on a nightly basis, this kind of foolishness that we see here. But when you talk about the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's and the Hakeem Jeffries of the world, these DNC lunatics as a whole, they could care less about anything that I just read. None of this stuff matters. If you leave it up to them, these are all South Carolina men, right? And South Carolina women as well. That's all that they are. They're not illegal immigrants participating in sick behavior. These are the kind of people that DNC lunatics want to keep and maintain in this country. They're fighting harder for them than they are for the American citizen. Let me read this one more time, because this is what was found in this cartel nightclub in South Carolina. He added that 10 juveniles below the age of 21 were removed from the club and returned to their parents, the youngest of which was 13 years old, and 7 of which were below the age of 18. Unbelievable. Excuse me. Very believable. Very believable. One juvenile who was discovered to have been reported as missing was also found in the club during the operation. Officials said some individuals recovered are believed to be human trafficking victims and are being provided assistance. Once again, this is the madness that Democrats have unleashed onto this country. Democrats that hate Trump more than they love their country. So, as opposed to fighting to get rid of all of these sick people from our country, they spend most of their time fighting against Trump in order to justify keeping these monsters in the country. You can't make this stuff up, man. These DNC lunatics are pure evil, as far as I'm concerned. The sheriff said firearms, cocaine, and an unknown controlled substance were seized on the premises in addition to a large quantity of bulk currency. Testing is underway on the unknown substance, and drug trafficking and money laundering are being investigated. 4 vehicles were seized for drug related offenses and are awaiting search warrants, Ritchie added. And as we round this article out, the owner and operator of the illicit establishment was Benjamin Reyna Flores, and that's that individual that you're looking at on the screen right now, officials confirmed, who was arrested by SLED and booked at the Charleston County Jail around 11 a.m. on Sunday. He faces charges of unlawful storage and transportation of alcoholic liquors, unlawful sale, manufacturing of alcoholic liquors, unlawful sale of beer, operations without a permit, and sales to an unlicensed person. Bond for those charges totaled $4,715, according to the detention center's website. But he is still in custody with SLED, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office, listed as holding agencies, and is set to appear in court later in June. Well, that's a good thing. That's good news, because when they said this man's bond was $4,715, I was like, what? You found all this going on in this man's club, and you were only able to charge him with, you know, unlawful sales and manufacturing of alcohol and liquors? Like, that's it? And then his bond is that low? That's completely ridiculous. I'm gonna be honest with you. Even despite the fact that seemingly he's not going anywhere anytime soon, you know, he's in the holding and the custody of all these, organizations combined. Uh, that's still crazy that his bond is $4,715. That's really kind of bizarre and ridiculous, if you ask me. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, the operation was shut down, and that club is no longer in existence. This man is behind bars, at least for the moment. Hopefully he's also an illegal immigrant as well, so that he can get him up out of here, because I would hate for this guy to be right back on the streets again, after all the charges come down on him and he's found guilty. I mean, for what this guy is being charged with for running the place, he's not going to do too much time at all. Really, if anything, you might get hit with a couple of fines, and penalties, and that's the end of it. When you're talking about, once again, unlawful sale and manufacturing of alcohol, unlawful storage and transportation of alcohol. I mean, that stuff, it is South Carolina though. So maybe down there they give you some real jail time for that. But I know out here in California, forget about it. You can, blam somebody in broad daylight and be out, within the next couple of hours. But anyways, I digress. Let's carry on. Because it wasn't just South Carolina where these kind of operations were going down. Because look at what we have here. 36 Chinese and Taiwanese nationals arrested after ICE raids underground nightclub in Los Angeles. So it went down over here in LA this past weekend too. Nightclubs, underground nightclubs, illegal nightclubs all across the country, ICE is taking down and raiding. Look at this here. 36 Chinese and Taiwanese nationals were arrested following a raid on a Southern California underground nightclub. I want to pivot to this tweet over here from HSI Los Angeles, because I want to take a moment to watch this video. They posted here earlier this morning, HSI Los Angeles with ERO Los Angeles and partners from the El Camino Real Financial Crimes Task Force conducted an enforcement operation in an underground nightclub. 36 Chinese and Taiwanese nationals were arrested for being illegally present in the U.S. What I want to do right now is play this video of the arrest that went down and the people that are all covering their faces in embarrassment after being found in this underground nightclub. So let's get into this video clip next. Look at the shame on their faces, despite the fact that it's blurred out. And I didn't blur this out. That's, ICE, they did that themselves. The Homeland Security, they did that themselves. But look at the shame, how all of them have their head down like this. Just a shame that they got caught in this underground nightclub.
Take the next one. So let's make it two guys. This way right here.
They have it. I don't know.
What's your question?
They're going there.
Oh, you have a driver. You have status?
No, I'm come from California and I have the work permit.
Oh, work permit. You sure you're going?
As I'm watching this right now, and as we're bringing this to a close, who knows like how many of these women are actually being trafficked? Because once again, this is an underground nightclub, so all type of foolishness is what's going on over there, just like how it was at the Cartel nightclub. I mean, unfortunately, in the Fox News article, we're not going to go back to it because they didn't give us much. HSI and ICE, they didn't really give too many details on who these people were, what the crimes were, you know, what was found, things of that nature. All we know is that it was an illegal underground nightclub where they busted all these illegal Chinese and Taiwanese illegal immigrants at. But, you know, when you're looking at this here, you're looking at all these women that they have lined up here on the side. It makes you wonder, like, were these women being trafficked? Because we know there was trafficking going on at the Cartel nightclub in South Carolina. Like I said, it just makes you wonder.
What's your question?
Are you gonna go into the
Oh, you have a driver's license. You have status?
no, I'm come from California and I have the work permit.
Oh, work permit. You sure you're going to court protected? Right, so put everybody from the van?
Is
she the first van? That's another one of us?
Yeah, is she going in that van?
Yeah, that photo?
Yep, another photo, please. All of them.
I don't want all of them.
That's wild, man. And you know, like I always say, I say this so much, and I'll say it again in closing. You know, I say this in comment sections when I'm talking to you guys and stuff back and forth, and I'll say it here, and I'm gonna keep saying it for the next 4 years and years to come. Imagine if Harris would have won. Can you imagine that? None of this stuff would be going on right now. All these ICE raids, you know, shutting down, you know, these illegal underground nightclubs ran by God knows who. No, this madness would just be continued to spread. The borders would literally still be open right now. Really think about that. The border would still be wide open as we speak. There'd be another flood of 15 million illegal immigrants from all across the world coming into this country like crazy. And this type of cancer that we're seeing here that we've discussed today and watched today would just be spreading like mad. I just, wow, man. If you want to talk about dodging a bullet, that a Harris-Walz administration is not dodging a bullet. Is that we dodged a nuclear bomb. We dodged a nuclear bomb in this country by getting Trump in over Harris, man. Because, man, this would have been bad. It would have been so bad beyond what I could even imagine. And with all that being said, we'll just leave that here. So that does it for today's news, man. Thanks for watching today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.